Good evening. Good evening and welcome to a regular meeting of the Oak Harbor City Council. It's a little bit irregular because normally our meetings are the first and third Tuesday of each month, and this is July 11th, the second Tuesday. Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It is 6 p.m. And first turn to our city clerk and ask her to do a roll call.
Thank you, Mayor.
Then I'll go to the invocation right after that.
Very good. Councilmember Munns.
Present.
Councilmember Stuckey.
Present.
Councilmember Hoffmeyer.
Present.
Councilmember Marshall.
Present.
Councilmember Wittgenstein.
Present.
Mayor, Councilmembers Wiesner and Mayor Pro Tem Heisen have requested to be excused this evening.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion to that. Yes.
Motion to excuse council members Heisen and Wiesner.
Second.
Is there a second? There's a motion second to excuse Mayor Pro Tem Heisen and Councilor Wiesner. Motion made by Marshall and second by Wittgenstein. All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Okay, so this is a city council meeting. I, as mayor, will do my best to get us through the agenda. And the first item actually now is an invocation tonight, which will be led by Reverend Greg Steible with the Whidbey Presbyterian Church. Immediately following that, I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I invite you to stand for the invocation. Okay, without the, we'll just have a moment of silence. Okay, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So tonight's meeting is being streamed live on YouTube and Facebook and will be broadcast on cable channel 10, HD 1090 following the meeting. Attendees are participating in person and via teleconference. Guests that are included in staff presentations will be excused at the conclusion of the agenda item as appropriate. So we've had our roll call. And I would like to now just move to our agenda. Does anybody have any changes they want to make to the agenda? And if not, it will be. We will move forward as it exists. So we'll go to item number 2 on our agenda, which is presentations. And this evening, I know Matthew is here from the EMT Whidbey Health, and we have some honors and recognitions. And the city has been asked to allow them to come and make some presentations. So, Matthew, come forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Matthew Buchholz. I've been a EMT for Whidbey Health for 17 years, but I've been a member of this community my entire life. Community is why I have the honor to be here today. As first responders, a common occurrence to have to make decisions in the middle of tragedy where mere seconds are the difference between life and death. Training and experience are a huge component when you need to act now putting someone else's needs above your own. With years of training, believe me when I tell you, it's still no easy task to maintain your composure and rise to the call. That's why when members of our great community did just that, leaping into action, putting the needs of a stranger above theirs, and in doing so saved a man's life, at that moment it became our duty and my privilege to recognize their selfless act while sharing our appreciation for the courage and compassion they showed that day. That day was May 14th, 2023, a regular day for everyone involved until a car crossed the center line and struck another vehicle head-on. Luckily, passengers of the second vehicle didn't sustain serious injury. They were able to get to safety. However, the single occupant of the first car was left pinned and unconscious. As that vehicle began to smoke, threatening to catch fire, these individuals rushed forward and were able to pry open his door. Afterward, while the smoke was building, they were able to get him free and carry him to safety just moments before the flames erupted from the front of the car. Their quick action gave this man a second chance at life and his family one more day with him. Words can't describe the importance of that one act. Today, we stand before you not only as emergency responders, but as grateful witnesses to the spirit of community shown by these remarkable individuals. Their acts of heroism serve as a powerful reminder that heroes are not limited to those who wear a uniform or hold official titles. Heroes can be found among us, ordinary individuals who rise to the occasion. Demonstrating extraordinary bravery and compassion, we extend our deepest gratitude and admiration. Your actions inspire us all to be better, to be more compassionate, and to be ever vigilant in our commitment to the well-being of our community. You have shown us the truest measure of heroism lies in the acts of kindness and humanity that we extend to one another. On behalf of the entire emergency response team and the community at large, we present our heartfelt thanks to all of you. Your bravery and selflessness serve as a shining example to us all. We are forever grateful for the difference you made that day, and we are honored to call you members of our community. With me today is the paramedic from the crew that responded to that call and treated the patient after you pulled him to safety. She would like to shake your hands and say thank you, as well as honor you with our first ever Community Life-Saving Award. You can just stand right up there, and they'll come up. Corey Baker. On behalf of Whidbey Health Emergency Medical Services, we thank you.
It's an honor.
Jennifer Carlson. Thank you. He's not here yet. Seth Foster. Yeah. Thank you. If you could just stand. And we have one recipient that was stuck in Washington State Ferry traffic. He was just moments away. I don't know if he's here yet. Brian Roberts. He's almost here. I know he was messaging me just a minute ago, so he was in a hurry. Brian Roberts was the first one to make contact with the patient and was instrumental in prying the door open to gain access and get him to safety. So it would be my honor to be able to hand this to him when he gets here. If a family member is here, would like to grab this and hold it for him. I know his mom said she was going to be here.
I am the roommate of the person that they saved.
Well, I think that would be a pretty good honor if you wanted to come up here and accept this on his behalf.
So thank you, guys.
Thank you. And thank you for giving me the privilege of standing before you guys today to honor these people. I appreciate it.
Thank you for each and everything you do. Thank you.
Do you mind if we grab something?
Okay, that concludes the honors and recognitions part of our agenda for this evening. And I will move then to the item number 3, which is citizen comment period. Citizens may comment on consent agenda items or subjects of interest not listed on the agenda at this time. If citizens want to comment on remaining agenda items, please do so at the appropriate time. Nothing tonight. Yeah. Let me see, where was I? Yeah, citizens can also visit our website prior to our meetings for methods to submit public comment, or contact the city clerk, Julie Nestor, by phone or email when submitting comments. Please include your name and address. Public comments sent anonymously will be shared with the mayor and council, but won't be displayed at a meeting. We have received 3 public comments since our last regular meeting. One from Valerie Allanez suggesting the development of a tiny home village. One from Brittany Pidco regarding accessible playgrounds, and one from John Solon regarding Spin Cafe. The comments are displayed on the screen now. Okay, so we are just beginning then the public comment period, which is scheduled for 15 minutes. We do have a list, I assume, with some names?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay, and please keep your remarks to 3 minutes, and we'll let you know when that's up. Thanks. And who's first?
First, Mayor, is Donna Clausen.
Good evening. My name is Donna Clausen. My husband and I have been residents of Oak Harbor for about 2.5 years. I originally decided to attend this meeting based on my family's observations of the speeders on Southwest Barrington Drive. I've since been contacted by neighbors on Southwest Fairhaven who are experiencing the same issues, but include cars running the stop signs at Fairhaven and Barrington. I have provided copies of my statement and theirs, along with a petition that you should have. We are concerned for the safety of children, pedestrians, and other cars driving on Barrington and Fairhaven. Many of the cars seem to go the 25 miles per hour. However, those who don't are going excessively fast, especially on the straight stretches, when it seems more like 40+ miles an hour. We've seen some cars racing up the road, 2 to 3 at a time, chasing one another. There are repeat offenders we could point out, some whose cars backfire so loud we can follow their sound and observe them speeding throughout the entire city. We've witnessed multiple cars passing other cars they deem too slow. Twice I've had them coming at me in my lane. About 6 accidents from excessive speed have wiped out on or near the corner in front of our house. We recently had 2 accidents on the same day, one of which was a drunk hit and run who wiped out on both sides of the street, hitting a neighbor's parked car and driving onto the sidewalk, just missing a light pole. Thankfully, she was apprehended. The other was a motorcycle that left broken parts strewn all over the sidewalk. One accident earlier this year disabled a homeless couple's car, and they ended up sleeping in the car for 3 nights before we paid to have it towed to their friend's house. We were pleased when city staff came to our house last year and witnessed cars going too fast and driving over the center and fog lines. They placed 25-mile-an-hour signs as additional reminders from Erie to Heller, but the speeding persists. Many residents on Barrington and Fairhaven no longer allow their children to play in their front yards because it has become too dangerous. I'm here on behalf of these residents to request additional review of these issues to find a viable solution. People use Barrington and Fairhaven to bypass Highway 20, but it is a residential street with people walking dogs or walking to work, kids on scooters and skateboards. It's a scenic road, and we witness people frequently stopping their cars in the middle of the road on the corner to take pictures of the view. This only adds to the danger. Ideas could be put counters in the road, especially if they could also tell the speed, to see how many cars are using the road. Again, this is a residential road, not an arterial bypass route. Place local access only signs to limit use of the road to residents of the neighborhood. Possibly step up speed enforcement. We've offered police to park in our driveway. It's somewhat hidden, and the city could gain some extra revenue by catching the repeat offenders. We've seen the positive effects speed humps or tables have on other residential streets in the city. This is the preferred solution shown by the petition. The citizens of Southwest Barrington and Fairhaven would appreciate any efforts the city could make to curb these ongoing problems before someone gets killed. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Next is Fee Micho.
Hello, council members, and thank you. My name is Fee Micho. I'm the manager of Spin Cafe here in Oak Harbor. Since we have reopened in February of 2021, we have served up to 100 people. Out of those guests, we have assisted over 40 in acquiring housing, obtaining medical support, get behavioral health support, enroll in addiction help, and replace missing documents such as IDs, birth certificates, and social security cards. We connect them to Island County Services, to Opportunity Council, CADA, Compass Health, CMAR, DSHS, and other organizations that can help them with the help that they need to move forward. We provide a safe space for these guests, most of whom have mental illness. There are many reasons that these people have come to us: loss of a job, loss of a home, escaping a dangerous living environment. Some are struggling with addiction. I personally talk to each guest that walks through our doors. Not one has said they wanted to be homeless when they grew up. They don't plan the situation. No one does. Sadly, 90% of people in this room are more likely to become homeless than a millionaire. And if anyone in our community finds themselves in this unfortunate situation, we welcome them with kindness, compassion, and support. We will pour them a cup of coffee, listen to their struggles, and work with them on their goals together. I invite you to visit our new and improved location. We are proud of the work that we have accomplished with the support of our community partners. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is June Zacharias.
Good evening. My name is June Zacharias. I'm a volunteer at Spin Cafe. It was about 12 years ago when I first heard of Spin Cafe. Some ladies came to our Methodist women's group to tell us about the program and to invite us to volunteer. At that time, Spin was a 3-hour dinner program, and I wanted to help by baking desserts. However, I will admit, I was afraid of those people. By the end of my first day of volunteering, I felt so much more at ease. The guests were all polite and appreciative. For the next few years, I continued to help and develop strong bonds with guests, staff, and fellow volunteers. Move ahead to the past several years. Many changes came about with great results. A new executive director was hired, and along with members of the board, has brought more structure, a strong philosophy, and high expectations at Spin Cafe. I spend a half a day volunteering there and thoroughly enjoy the guests, staff, and volunteers. The experience of working with our guests is most rewarding. I'm not an eloquent or professional speaker, so I will report in my usual expression, bad poetry. To answer the question, please do tell, in whose backyard shall we dwell? We'll be good neighbors, you will see, but in whose backyard should we be? Someday in a better world, I believe, our own backyard is where we'll be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, next on our list is Michelle Hines.
Good evening. My name's Michelle Hines. I'm the Executive Director of Spin Cafe. Thank you for the opportunity to speak briefly to you about Spin Cafe's move to the old Washington Federal Building and address some of the opposition to that location for Spin. Although I have only heard of this opposition directly from one building owner, one city council member, and from the chief of police. I met with the city building officials prior to signing the lease for this location to make sure that our mission meets at least one qualification to operate within the C3 zone. We are a gathering place or an assembly. We have a dedicated office for counseling, and we serve food under a donated food permit through the Island County Health Department. Furthermore, as a homeless shelter, and under House Bill 1220, we qualify to be anywhere that is zoned hotel motel. We intentionally looked for a site for Spin in the C3 zoning area for that very reason, and for the reason that we would not need a conditional use permit or a public meeting, although I did look at every single available space for lease or purchase within Oak Harbor. Twice I have witnessed pretty ugly, vicious attacks at public meetings that were required to get a conditional use permit, one for the Lehigh project and one in Island County for Whidbey Homeless Coalition's building on Morris Road. Both times the opposition was rooted in fear and NIMBYism, not in my backyard. I decided to do everything possible to avoid exposing my employees, myself, and my supporters to that kind of negativity. I did, however, write letters to all the businesses and property owners on and around Southwest Barlow Street, informing them about what Spin Cafe actually does, who we work with, and gave them my contact information, and included the following sentences. One of our goals for the new location is to draw in the homeless individuals who frequent the area in and around Southwest Barlow Street, providing a place for these folks to settle, use the bathroom, and get off the streets and away from your businesses. We know these individuals by name and believe that we can and will make a positive impact this way in our community. And in the meantime, please feel free to contact me at any time for any reason. My staff and I are familiar with most of these folks, most of the homeless folks in our town, and oftentimes can help mitigate any trouble or concerns you may have. I have had one face-to-face conversation with a building owner, one very positive email from a business owner. That's it. Oh, my time's almost up. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Next.
Mayor, next on our list is Stephen, and Stephen, I apologize, I cannot read your last name. It does begin with an S. If you could please come forward and state your name.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and I apologize for bad handwriting. I'm merely here as a supporter. I'm a candidate for pastoral certification with the Methodist Church, where we've been affiliated with Spin for several years, and I'm happy to say that we're deeper in support once we got to know them better. We invited them into our building this winter to help get some of the more destitute folks off the street and into a warm shelter, and we provided a Saturday and Sunday space, a safe place for them and a safe space for all involved in supporting them. And myself and some of the other folks from the church provided breakfasts and/or lunches, and we continue to do that at the park, where I go with others from my church on Saturdays, and we distribute little bag lunches, basically, with terrific volunteer. I guess the only thing that I might bring a little different as a pastor in training is that we are called by our God, however you define her or him, to look after the least and the poor, and specifically the homeless. So I think that we would do well not only for our city, but for our souls, to consider what our mission truly is, assembled here tonight, and as elected officials for our city. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Mayor, may I ask the speaker to please tell me his last name?
I beg your pardon, it's spelled S-C-H-E-R-E-R, Stephen Scher. And thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Mayor, next on our list is Robert. Robert, unfortunately, I also cannot read your last name. It begins MC, that I'm sure of.
Sometimes it's mud, but there you go. I'm Robert McConkey. I've lived in Oak Harbor this past 30 years, and I was here about 10 years before that. The Navy took me away. My church has supported the Spin Cafe and everything that the Spin Cafe wants to do. However, not there. I've done some extensive work inside and outside of the movie theater. I've had experience with stepping on things that you don't want to step on because the homeless have been out there. And I don't know that we have a hazmat group that will come in and clean up. And we've also had to call the police to have vagrants removed from the area. It is not a place where you want your kids. If you think it is, then you could have your kids and your grandkids hang out at the Spin Cafe. Thanks.
Thank you. Robert, would you please spell your last name for me?
M-U-D-D? No. M-C, capital C-O-N-C-H-I-E, and it's pronounced McConkey.
Thank you so much. Mayor, next on our list, and Mayor, at this point, we are getting close to our 15-minute mark. We have two more speakers, if the council would wish to allow two more speakers.
Looks like yep.
Okay.
Certainly.
Next is John Solon.
My name is John Solon. I am the owner of Oak Harbor Cinemas, which I started in 1981. I operated it for 10 years, and then I leased it to various other operators for 28 years, and then started it again in 2019. I did receive the letter on June 22nd from Michelle Hines, and Michelle, I do appreciate the letter. However, in my opinion, this is not an acceptable location for such a facility. It is right in the middle of a retail section of town that has already attracted many homeless. The application did list the use as restaurant, which is permitted in a C3 zone. However, to me, restaurant seems to be a real stretch of the zoning code. For example, an assisted living facility or group home is not permitted in the C3 zone, nor is a campground. Even a private nursery, foster home, kindergarten, or child daycare, not qualifying as a home occupation, requires a conditional use permit, but a homeless restaurant does not. Since they are registered as a federal and state nonprofit, they of course do not have any taxable sales, and therefore no sales tax revenue comes to the city. And I'm sure the city can always use additional funding to support all the city needs, as well as additional police response, which certainly is going to occur. As Oak Harbor Police Chief Dresker stated in the article in the newspaper, quote, he was concerned that locating Spin Cafe to this area could escalate conflicts, unquote. The proposed location is, of course, right next to the cinema, across the street from the Dairy Queen, both businesses which are frequented by children. I and my employees have personally seen and cleaned up fecal matter, urine, soiled underwear, beer and liquor bottles, spoiled food, filthy clothing, blankets, tarps, pillows that have been left in our emergency exits of the theater and in the back alleyways all the way down to Wendy's. We've had to call the police multiple times to remove some very vocal and foul-mouthed individuals. We've had multiple graffiti attacks over the last 4 years, some with profanity on the wall. None of these problems used to occur 42 years ago or even 10 years ago. In summary, I am not opposing Spin Cafe's mission. I am opposing the location, and I just request that the mayor, the city council, and all departments within the city just do a thorough due diligence in the remaining tasks confronting them, consisting of completing of the construction project for the Spin Cafe. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mayor, our last speaker on our list is Julie. And Julie, if you could please spell your last name as well. Thank you.
Julie Leete, L-E-E-T-E.
Thank you.
And I'm here representing North Whidbey Pool Park and Rec District as a commissioner this evening. And the reason I came is because we've continued to experience ramifications from conflict of interest voting from a member on the city council who's also an employee. What is a conflict of interest? In its most basic form, it's being on both sides of an issue. And those issues do impact employees that work at the Park and Rec District in various ways. But I will give you a little history so you can understand the conflict. In May, there was an agenda item, an MOU between the City of Oak Harbor and North Whidbey Pool Park and Rec District concerning landscaping. Prior to that meeting, the executive director, as well as board members, were led to believe that this council member was encouraged to vote on this agenda item. It has come to light that that could not have been the case because the vote was struck by the city attorney after that vote was made. If they wouldn't encourage someone to vote and then strike the vote, okay? Which led me to feel like the vote in December should then be called into question concerning the LTAC funding and a $37,500 slide. That individual voted that time as well. So I went to speak to the executive director and said, you know, should we really have accepted $37,500 in this instance? And she informed me that she had never submitted for the LTAC funding because she was concerned about the vote herself. There are people on our board that do not know that we haven't even received the money. We have publicly thanked the city in the newspaper on a banner. We've spent $37,500 on a slide. That money could have been used on various things. That money could have been used to fund the 401k for all salaried employees that we just implemented this year for the first time ever. It could have been used to lessen the cost of summer camp for families. It could have been used to help repair pickleball courts, whatever. But it doesn't stop there. This same council member served on the hiring committee for the Parks and Rec position for the city of Oak Harbor, knowing full well that his boss had applied for a job with the city of Oak Harbor. Now, we've worked to make sure that our executive director and the new Parks and Rec director, who I think is fantastic, by the way, that's not the issue, have a good working relationship. But the process was flawed, not failed. It was flawed because we had an employee whose boss was applying for the job at the city of Oak Harbor, making decisions concerning her future employment. And anyone else who applied for that same job, I'm sorry to all of you, because the whole system
Mayor, the speaker's
was
time is
flawed.
up.
I'm out of time. I just want to say that we've put North Whidbey Pool Park and Rec District has been put in an awkward position based on arrogance and ignorance. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, that concludes our list of speakers.
Okay, but that doesn't mean that somebody else can't come to the podium. If they'd like to speak, please give us your name and Try to keep it to 3 minutes.
Hi. So I just want to check in. I was actually supposed to be on the agenda for tonight. I am here as the executive director of Big Brothers Big Sisters to fulfill part of our lease with the city of Oak Harbor. I'm required once a year to come and give you a presentation on what we do and why we do it, and I was scheduled to be here tonight, so I apologize. I have about 6 minutes, but I will try and make it snappy.
Hey, hold on, please. Yeah,
Mayor,
help
we
me out
did
here.
not have confirmation, so we do not have Big Brothers Big Sisters on this agenda. We have it on an agenda, I believe, in August.
So
Okay.
we have that coming in August with that.
Okay. I was told to be here this evening.
Oh.
I will check in and verify. This is certainly the time I had on my calendar, so I apologize for wasting your time this evening as well as my own. Have a great night.
Oh, thank you very much, and we apologize to you for the misunderstanding. Anyone else here would like to public comment?
I will say, because I was going to tell you this anyway, we do have a golf tournament coming up for Big Brothers Big Sisters on Friday, the 14th. We'd love to have you at the Whidbey Golf Course. See you there.
Okay, then we will close the public comment period at this time, and we'll go to the next agenda item, which is the consent agenda. I don't know about you, but consent agenda was a pretty good sized part of our packet. Anybody got any questions? Yes, Councilor Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to pull off consent agenda item E.
E?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else?
I didn't want to pull C and D off, but I would like to hear a quick update on those two.
So we'll take C, D, and E off. And the rest then will be approved as presented on the consent agenda. So then we'll turn then to item C and Mr. Marshall. I'm sorry.
So Mayor, we do have staff here to present on item C.
Okay.
Hello, Mayor and council members. So item C, this is the 2022 Sanitary Sewer Rehabilitation Project with our final contract voucher certificate. So this is a standard document that we require council approval when we're closing out a project. So this project was constructed in late winter, early spring of this year. It replaced sewer main on Northeast 9th Avenue and Northeast 10th Avenue using a in situ pipe bursting method. The project was awarded for $519,135.75 with an allowed change order allowance of $100,000. Again, the begin and end date of the construction is there. And the final cost for this project was $509,329.75. So it was delivered under budget and on time. So we're simply asking that council allow the mayor to sign off on this final contract voucher that allows us to release retainage to the contractor. Any questions?
Looks good, thank you.
Okay. Next item is item...
Mayor, we should probably have a motion for the item since it was pulled off the agenda.
Yeah, I thought we would have either, maybe all three together, but Councilor Stuckey's got a question.
Not so much a question, just to highlight a very important sentence here. On time and under budget. Just, well done.
Thank you.
Okay, then I will entertain a motion to accept item number 4C.
And Mayor, Councilmember Munns also has her hand raised.
Councilor Munns, do you have a question?
Councilmember Munns, you're muted.
I do have a question about H, but I'd be happy to make the motion to accept this item. E,
Okay, we got a
2022 sanitation sewer rehabilitation, final contract voucher certified and to be paid and signed by the mayor.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion second to accept item number 4C as it was presented. Motion was Councilor Munn, second by Councilor Hoffmeyer. No other questions. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. Okay, that passes unanimously. And then I had written down C, D, and E. Am I correct? Okay, then go to D next.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Council. This is an increase to the change order allowance for the 2023 hot mix asphalt overlay project. So we recently came to council to award this project to Craig Construction. That was in April of this year. The intent was to grind and overlay all of the streets shown here on this map. It starts at Columbia and goes up into this neighborhood in the northeast section of town. We awarded the project for $745,754.40 with the standard change order allowance of $100,000 in total. So this project was designed and the contract put together in-house in our engineering group. We did have a fairly significant oversight in estimating our quantities. We had two segments of Columbia, one from Oak Harbor to Ensign and another from Ensign to Northeast 7th. We failed to include the quantities for grinding and asphalt for that second segment of Columbia Drive. It was always the intent to perform this work. We just failed to include it in the quantities, which then we quickly realized after we began construction 2 weeks ago yesterday. We estimate that this additional quantity is about $50,000 for the grinding and $100,000 for the asphalt. We do have sufficient funds in the Transportation Benefit District to cover this work. We bring in about $1 million a year. So what we are asking for is an increase of $150,000. So therefore, the change order allowance will become $250,000. That allows us the flexibility to cover the cost of this work and still have the standard $100,000 change order allowance. To give you an update on the project, they are completed with grinding and overlaying all of these streets. That was just completed today. They have outstanding work. I'm estimating about $50,000 worth of work for striping and some cleanup items. So we are, again, requesting council to increase that change order allowance by $150,000.
Councilor Hoffmeyer?
Thanks, Alex. The work being done by staff, on these projects are amazing. The contractor's doing a phenomenal job over there. Thanks for explaining the reason for the change order, and certainly commendable that you guys are getting a hold of it now instead of just saying, oh, we're not going to pave those two roads, because they were in atrocious shape. So thank you for explaining this, and though we like the headlines ahead of schedule and under budget much better, this is an understandable change order, and it happens. Thank you.
So we'll need a motion to approve this, isn't that correct? Okay, yes, Mr. Hoffmeyer.
I move to increase the change order authorization of the Public Works Director by $150,000 on the 2023 hot mix asphalt overlay project construction contract with Craig Construction Incorporated.
Second.
So we have a motion second that reads exactly like the recommended action. Motion is made by Councilor Hoffmeyer, second by Councilor Munn. Seeing no questions or further input, all in favor signify by raising your right hand. Looks like it passes unanimously. I can't see. Okay, okay, good. Okay, now we'll go on to item number 4E, Fakkema Road Paving Project Award of Contract.
And for this, we have our project manager, Brett Arvidsson.
Okay.
Good evening, Council. I'm Brett Arvidsson, a project manager for the city, and we're talking about the Fakkema Access Roads Project Award. Something happened. Anyway, to give some background on this project, last March, the City Council approved an MOU with U-Haul to provide access to build an access road serving 4 parcels back there, including U-Haul. This agreement did reduce the capital requirements from the previously designed public road. We were talking about $500,000 for that. The agreement said we pay up to $200,000, but we're right now substantially lower than that. Our obligation under the MOU was to pave about 1,075 feet of the access road, the 28-foot wide road. We went through a shortened bid process. We solicited bids through the Washington State Small Works roster. We actually sent out a request for solicitations to 90 firms. We did receive 1 bid. This thing is jumping around. Anyway, the bid results were, we had 1 bid from Creek Construction Incorporated. It's $119,526, and they were the low bidder and the only bidder. Our engineer's estimate is $125,000, so we feel very comfortable about the cost. This is also very in line with all the other paving work with Whidbey and the TBD work. So while we had 1 bidder, we felt the price is very good. So anyway, our recommended motion is to move that the City Council award the contract for the Fakkema Access Road paving project to low bidder Creek Construction in the amount of $119,526. Any questions?
Councilor Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Arvidsson, at the March meeting, Public Works Director, Mr. Schuler, said that there was a water line out there that there was some concern about, and so we were wondering, what...
Yeah, that got moved by our, on a different, we did under a different project completely, so that's been moved already.
So that's been taken care of? Okay. And then the other thing that he mentioned is it's actually beneficial to have that gravel layer through the summer and through a winter, so it has time for trucks to drive on it and settle, and then that way...
Well, I think we changed our mind on that one. We've kind of felt that what would happen is start getting a lot of heavy truck traffic on, it's going to start running up and getting potholes in it, then we have to come back and spend a lot more money fixing the base. So the decision was to keep moving it forward and get it paved. I don't think there's any major benefit from that, but it was an idea at the time that we kind of fell by the wayside.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Okay. So I'd entertain a motion to award this. Councilor Marshall?
I move that the City Council award the contract for the Fakkema Access Road paving project to the low bidder, Craig Construction Incorporated, in the amount of $119,526.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Reads exactly like the recommended action. Motion made by Councilor Marshall, second by Councilor Munns. Seeing no other questions or input, all in favor signify by raising your right hand. Okay, that looks like it passes unanimously. Okay.
Mayor?
Yes.
Councilmember Munns has her hand raised.
Oh, good. Councilor Munns.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a question about H, the professional service agreement with Grantius. They're buying out a company, but I remember, and I believe, Mayor, you were on council, and Radius, we bought a software and we tried to use it for 1 year. It didn't seem like they were very, let's say, helpful in trying to work things out. I think we paid roughly, I could be wrong, your memory's probably better than mine, about $30,000. And we ditched it because it just didn't work. I know companies buy other companies, and this has been a program that we have liked, but my mind either farted or whatever. I couldn't see that if, other than we're locked in for 1 year, if in 6 months they're not handling it as good as the other company used to, Are we still paying them money for this?
So which item are you speaking about?
H.
H, professional service agreement.
With Granicus, formerly GovQA. Do you want to consider this one off the agenda too, Mayor, and we talk about it?
Be happy to. Yeah, I think we should now, but
Okay.
I kind of
Yeah.
already approved it, but let's talk about it.
Yeah, Sabrina Combs, our Communications IT Manager, is ready to address the concerns of Councilmember Munns.
So we received notification that Granicus had purchased GovQA. GovQA is still providing the services. We've had this with Civic Plus recently as one of our vendors for some other things. Several of these, I'm going to say smaller companies have been acquired by some of the larger firms out there doing municipality work, and so that's what's happened with this. I'd have to dig into the contract a little bit more with Hillary to find out what our options are if we're not satisfied with the product, but I have to say, recently we've done some changes to the web presentation and some other things, and the records management team has been able to get in touch with them to receive those updates and work through some of those changes with them. So it's a current product we're doing. If we were going to go out to bid to pursue a different product for providing our public records management, I would say that we would need to have more time in order to do that. So as staff, we're more than happy to pursue that in the future, but for right now, GovQA, we were just extending the current project that we already have with the current provider.
Thank you, Sabrina. It sounds like the people we want to are handling it for us, and we trust them, and they've done a great job, and they respond. That's good. It's just, it made me nervous because we spent all this money when not this little company, but the bigger company, and was trying to push us into the software use, and we spent a lot of money, and it ended up being a zero. So I just was trying to ask the question, but if you're happy and they have really stepped up to the plate, we have things, then I'm fine. I was concerned, and I just wanted to bring it up. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor Munns. Appreciate it. Okay, we'll move on then to our next item, Mayor's comments. This week is the Fire Department Open House. Learn more about Station 82 and new vehicles at the Open House event on July 12th between 4 and 7 p.m. at Station 81, which is at 855 Whidbey Avenue. Association of Washington Cities Conference. My thanks to Mayor Pro Tem Heisen and Councilmember Wiggenstein for representing the city at last month's AWC conference. Included in the conference was a parade of flags for those cities in attendance, and I saw our Mayor Pro Tem proudly parading our flag in a picture over there. Looked really nice. 4th of July, thanks to and from the Chamber of Commerce. The city received this thank you from the Oak Harbor Chamber of Commerce for the work of our staff and first responders in support of the Independence Day weekend. Members of City Council participated in the parade. The Chamber also expressed thanks to Naval Air Station Whidbey Island and our military families and veterans. Thank you to the Chamber for a terrific weekend. The Center. The Center's July through September newsletter is now available online. From our website, click on Your Government, Communications, and you'll see a list of newsletters on the left. Upcoming events displayed on screen are some upcoming events. Please note the city's electronic sign at Beeksma Gateway experienced a mechanical failure. Staff is working with the manufacturer and reviewing options for repair or replacement, but at this point it's not working. So with that, I'll turn to City Council for any council comments. Councilor, yes, oh, I'm sorry. I thought I saw Councilor Munns.
Yes, her hand is raised, Mayor.
Oh, okay, let's go to Councilor Munns then first. Sorry.
Thank Thank you. First, I want to show some pictures from the Oak Harbor Youth Sailing, Dave French, not Dawn. It should be Dave French Youth Regatta. I probably sent in misspelled, but it was very exciting. It's the first time we've had a summer youth regatta, so it's not team racing. We had 85 kids sailing 65 boats, 5 different classes of boat: Optis, FJ, Laser 4.7, Laser Radial, C420s with a spinnaker, and on 2 different race courses. Sailor as far as south of Tacoma and as far north as Bellingham. 29 different races between the 5 fleets. These CFJs and the C420 fleets were decided on the final race of the last day. And if you're looking for EDC stuff, we had an estimated 200 people attend the event between sailors, coaches, and parents. Approximately half of those stayed on the island, and about half of those stayed both Friday and Saturday nights and ate in our restaurants. But this was just exciting to see our youth from a small program that does sailing camps now, Monday through Friday, and then they sponsor the high school team and coaches that sail year-round. So I just thought it was exciting news and wanted to share it with everyone. And the second item I have is, this is Christmas in July for Help House, our local food bank. And July 15th, we will have collectors at different grocery stores, and they usually offer specials, like if you buy 1 spaghetti, get the second one for half off and stuff. But they will accept any money donations or any food donations. Summer is a hard time. People forget they're on vacation, but everybody needs to eat. And I can tell you that last week we spent $2,000 just to buy fresh fruit to cover the food baskets that we knew we were going to have to do for the month. So it is not a problem, but we have a way to solve it, and just hope everybody remembers Christmas in July. And thank you, Mayor, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor Munns. Councilor Hoffmeyer.
A couple awesome updates from Councilor Munns there. Thank you. How about the 4th, the street fair, the Whidbey Wag on July 3rd, July 4th parade, the carnival. My gosh, it really, and then looking at the Dave French shell in there, it really feels like Oak Harbor's making a comeback here. What a good time to live here. It's just pretty amazing. Another thing I wanted to hit on real quick, when Greg and Matt reached out to me from the Whidbey Health Paramedics, Matt and I actually went to school together, which is pretty cool. When they reached out to see if we could do that, the city clerk, administrator, mayor, thank you guys for making that happen. That was, I think that was one of the cooler things we've seen here. So thank you. And, to the members of the community that were so heroic, I happened to drive by on that day, drove by the Zylstra Road Fire Station as that engine was pulling out of there. And then as we were coming into Oak Harbor, you could see the Oak Harbor engine rolling out there. And then seeing the pictures on Facebook in live time of the car fully engulfed. I mean, you knew right then and there that the only way that individual would get out of that car is if there were citizens that did what they did. So pretty amazing. So that was really cool. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, so any other council comments? Yes, Councilor Stuckey.
Just a question with regards to the speeding, because I've heard from other members of the community about the speed. I know we talked about traffic calming devices and things like that. Is there going to be an update on those in the future agenda at some point? Do we have that somewhere?
Alex, he's the expert on traffic calming, so.
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Stuckey. We have a $15,000 a year budget item now, thanks to council. We didn't have that set aside previously. With $15,000, we can put in 2 speed humps. We already have several other traffic calming concerns from citizens that warrant some sort of traffic calming. So we're looking at other ways to reduce the speeding. Again, the traffic calming, it's the 3 E's of traffic calming: engineering, enforcement, and education. So we frankly need to get creative with the amount of money we have set aside for that. And from my presentation last September, I believe it was, we applied for the Safe Streets for All grant. We're in the process of getting that grant in place to hire a consultant to create that safety action plan. So Island County is taking the lead on that. It's a joint effort between 5 of the local agencies here in Island County, and they're anticipating September to get a consultant on board to create that safety action plan, which will be a comprehensive look at improving safety, reducing speeds and collisions in Oak Harbor. That will then open the door for the grant funding, so we can have more than $15,000 to implement whatever traffic calming is warranted and, as designed per location. But until that gets in place, which likely won't be until 2024, well, at this point, it won't be until 2024, we just simply have very limited funding to address these issues.
And this is, I suppose, for you, or I see Chief back there. Is there anything we can do to speed this up, or do we need to add more to this budget? Whenever there's an item that multiple people take time to comment on, it's always kind of puts a sticky in my mind on that. Is there anything we can do to speed this up? Do we need to up the budget? What other things can we do at a council level that can assist our officers and the safety of our community, if anything?
So I can tell you, first of all, I think we have a great partnership with our engineering department. Not all cities have that good symbiosis and partnership, so I appreciate what they're doing. There are, within the engineering, there are multiple ways of trying to do that. Speed bumps, radar, the little reader boards that flash with the speed. There are, curves you can put in, but they all have problems. They all have costs. They all have, not all of them are good. So that's kind of what they do. Education is a piece that can be done in a broad scheme through engineering, through us, through even this conversation we're having in this council room. Enforcement is mostly us, of course, along with the courts. So this particular area up there, we've had other complaints about. We've been up there. We work the area heavily. We write some tickets. We give some warnings. We take radar trailers up there. We do that in 20 to 40 other locations too. So speeding can be a problem on almost any street. I do think this one gets a fair amount of the problems up there because of the way that it is laid out and the shortcut, I guess, that some people take. So what we will do, and Captain Slook reached out to those folks and is going to have some follow-up conversation with them. We'll work on our enforcement part and education part the best we can here in the meantime. We'll work with Alex and his department on whether or not there's any engineering capabilities. I think once something's identified, then it's a matter of what would that cost after we identify it. Do we have the money through the money he has or through a grant? Do we have that money where we can do something now as compared to 5 years from now? So I think once we identify through that process what the potential options are there, then I think it could be coming back to council and say, look, we're going to spend $20,000 on speed bumps and we're going to put in these flashing signs. So I think we can come to you if we have that. There's a lot of places where we get speeding complaints. We just put one down on Pioneer and ran the officers down there for a while and ran the radar trailers. So we'll work on it. We can try to get back to you on that. I mean, every time we have, scratch that. Every time we have a complaint, we try to do something about it. We try to work the area. We try to focus on what the issues are. So certainly it may take some money for an engineering standard, and we'll do the best we can with enforcement. So I don't know if you have a different question or follow-up on that?
Not a different question. No, I appreciate that. And a special thank you to Captain Slowick, who did take time out of his day to kind of tell me all about the issues and whatnot. And a lot of it's county.
Captain Slowick, come on up.
I hear a lot of stuff going on Regatta, and that's county. So I want to thank Captain Slowick. And you did mention that if there was any areas that seemed consistent with times, dates, if there's a specific area that may be reaching out so we can know to have officers at that time can be helpful. Is that
Definitely,
correct?
yeah. So I'll reach out to the Clausens and we'll have a conversation, identify specific times of days, those type of things, get some directed emphasis for officers to work that location, and I can work with Alex, and like Chief said, we'll reach back out to City Council and provide more information in the future.
Thank you for all you folks do. Appreciate it.
Okay, any other council comments, questions? I hope that guy with the loud muffler.
There's more than one mayor, we'll work on it.
Yeah, he's probably. Okay. We'll now move on to section 6 in our agenda, public hearings and meetings. It looks like we've got 3 open public hearings to do. The first is Resolution 2312, declaring certain city property of the water, solid waste, storm waste, and/or sewer utility to be surplus property. So do we have Sandra? Yes, Sandra, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Sandra Place, Central Services Supervisor. Tonight, I will be presenting this item entitled Surplus List 2023. I'll go ahead and share this. So last month, if you remember, there was another surplus item on your consent agenda, and that was for non-utility items. It follows the same process as what we're going to talk about today, where we're going to determine what property was needed to be surplused. We declare a list of items as surplus, but the difference is for utility items, they require a public hearing and a resolution, whereas non-utilities only require the resolution. City Council will approve this list for disposal, and then we will proceed with the sale or the disposal. Currently, we've been using a company called Bidadoo, an auction house that utilizes eBay. And today we actually sold 4 items on there from the previous list that you approved last month. This is the list of items that's also included in your agenda packet. And before the motion, I believe we do the public hearing, but this is the motion for you as well tonight.
Thank you, Sandra. Yes, so then at this time, we'll open the public hearing, see if there's anyone from the public who wishes to speak to this. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing and turn to council for questions, comments, or motions. Councilor Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor. Unless there's any comments, I will move to adopt Resolution 2312, declaring the certain city property of the water, solid waste, storm drain, and/or sewer utility to be surplus property.
Second.
Second.
Okay. We've got a motion from Councilor Marshall. I'm going to give that second to Councilor Wiggenstein, but it was a close one there, Councilor Munns. So we have motion second. No other questions? Yes, Councilor Stuckey?
I do have a question about the tenant sweeper selling did not fit the city's needs. Could you elaborate on that?
I would love to. We purchased this tenant sweeper specifically for the Windjammer project, so it would vacuum sweep up all the sidewalks, because there was so much more concrete sidewalks down there than we ever had before. It was not utilized by one of our divisions, and it has been sitting there since COVID, so we feel that because it's not meeting the needs, that we want to sell it while we have the best value to get out of it. And that's pretty much why we're saying that it didn't meet the needs.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions, input? We have motion second. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. Looks like that passes unanimously. We'll go on to item number 6B, ordinance number 1978, amending the 2023-2024 biennial budget mid-year 2023. And with that, we have our finance director, Mr. David Goldman.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council, David Goldman, Finance Director. I'd like to turn this item over to Chaz Webster to present to the council.
Thank you, Dave. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right. So tonight I'll be presenting the mid-year budget amendment to the 2023-2024 biennial budget under Ordinance 1978. This is the year's true-up budget amendment for actions taken since the beginning of the year. The 2023 budget amendments are as follows: $171,000 for the voter-approved replacement of the fire engine, $69,700 for voter-approved new fire lieutenant, $132,000 for the water main oversizing agreement for the municipal water main system extension, Marn Woods LLC, approved by council on February 21st, $5,400 to reclassify the position of senior service administrator to community recreation manager to be funded by program activity revenues, $8,200 to reclassify the position of maintenance 2 to assistant harbor master to be funded by marina rates.
Real quick, I just need to interject. That first slide, which said this is a true budget amendment, just to true up the budget to actions that the city council has taken to date. Some of these are that, but there are some items on here where the city council has not yet taken final action on. For example, the discussion we had at the last workshop regarding the parks and recreation reorganization. Also, the voters did approve a new fire lieutenant as part of the levy lid lift. However, the council has not made formal action regarding that one either. But the council did make formal action on the replacement of the fire engine a few months ago. So just like to clarify that first slide for you.
Thanks, Dave. 2023 budget adjustments, we've got $93,200 as a reduction to the no longer needed public works supervisory salary allocation in the Parks and Rec Department to be used for a new Park Specialist 1 position, a new Recreation Coordinator position, reclassification of the Parks Coordinator position to Parks Supervisor, new part-time sports officials, recreation leaders, and instructors for additional recreation programming, materials and supplies for activities. The 2024 budget amendments are as follows: $144,000 for the voter-approved new fire lieutenant, $159,700 for the positions listed here, the new Park Specialist 1 position, new Recreation Coordinator position, reclass of the Parks Coordinator to Park Supervisor, new part-time sports officials, recreation leaders, and instructors for that additional recreation programming, and the materials and supplies for activities. Continuing with the 2024 budget amendments, we have $13,100 to reclassify the position of Senior Service Administrator to Community Recreation Manager to be funded by program activity revenues, $19,600 to reclassify the position of Maintenance 2 to Assistant Harbor Master to be funded by marina rates. The 2024 budget adjustments are as follows: $107,200 reduction to the no longer needed public works supervisory salary allocation in the Parks and Rec Department used for the positions there listed, as well as the materials and supplies for activities. $5,000 Creative Arts Fund transfer. We're going to transfer funds to the general fund for the art recreation activities. And then $77,600 use of appropriated unencumbered net position in the Marina Fund to fund dredging study by Moffitt and Nickel, approved by council on March 21st. The recommended action is on the screen for you. And Dave and I are available for any questions. Thank you.
Before we take it here to council, I'd like to open a public hearing regarding this item. See if there's anybody from the public. Does not look like it, so we will close that public hearing and turn to council for questions and comments. Councilor Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor. David, you mentioned that we haven't taken formal action on some of these, like the reclassification and the funding for the lieutenant position. Is that something that we're going to have to take formal action on later?
No, tonight is the formal action. most of the items so we usually do 2 major budget amendments a year, and then we have other ones that come up from time to time. On the mid-year and the end-of-year budget amendments, those items are to true up actions that the city council took prior. For example, the city council had approved the fire engine 25% down payment and the contract to buy the fire engine. The city council had previously approved the Moffitt and Nichols contract. However, the city council has not come to a final decision on the Parks and Recreation reorganization that was discussed at the last 2 workshops. And also the fire lieutenant position, although was approved and part of the levy lid lift and it's fully funded, it hasn't been brought as a discussion item in front of council before. So tonight, would be the appropriate time if discussion is needed or deliberation is needed on those items to have that before the budget amendment is approved. Of course, the city council has the discretion to take items out of the budget amendment that are not ready or to change things around. But I just thought you should know the status of those items.
Thank you. And my last question is on the $5,000 from the Creative Arts Fund. Has that been approved by the Arts Commission? Are they aware of that? I don't recall that being part of the conversation in our Arts Commission meetings.
It was brought up during the workshop that we would use about $5,000. It was on one of the slides that we were going to use $5,000 from Creative Arts Funds in order to fund the art-related programs that Brian Smith was presenting. As far as I'm not familiar with the Creative Arts Committee. I don't go to those, so that is probably a question for a different staff member.
Yes.
Okay. Other comments, questions, concerns? How does council? Yes, Councilor Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to adopt ordinance number 1978, budget amendment number 2, amending the 2023-24 biennial budget and adopt an updated wage and salary schedule and plan of classification.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and second. The motion reads exactly like the recommended action. Motion was made by Councilor Marshall, second by Councilor Munns. Seeing no other input or questions, all in favor signify by raising your right hand. Okay, that looks like it passes unanimously. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goldman. Now we'll move on to item number 6C, which is ordinance number 1979, approval of finance agreement, Comcast Cable Communications, LLC. Sounds like we've got our city administrator and our city attorney.
Yes, I'll go ahead and handle it, and our city attorney's backing up if we have any questions, and I appreciate Hillary Evans taking this issue in my absence at the workshop, and so just a quick recap here, if they could bring up the slides for that. A little background here that was discussed, I think already, is the fact that we had a 2014 agreement that expired in 2014, and I came here in 2018, and this has been an item on my to-do list the whole time I've been here, so this is a check off to get this finally done and updated here, and I appreciate the work of Hillary's firm and the professionalism there and helping us and the expertise they have in finishing this negotiation. And then we talked about the franchise fee remaining pretty much revenue neutral, and then there is an option of additional revenue that we could talk about once it's approved. Next slide, please. The process requires a formal public hearing, so I recommend you hold the public hearing, and then I recommend that council move to adopt the ordinance approval of a franchise agreement with Comcast Cable Communications, LLC.
Okay, before we take it to council, then we will open a public meeting regarding this item, and I'm not seeing a rush to the microphone, so we'll close that public meeting and take it to council for questions. Councilor Stuckey.
Yeah, a few questions. Some may be a little odd. Why now? I mean, I hear that you're saying it was on your to-do list, but clearly 2014 was before you were here. Was there anything prompted by the internet provider or Comcast?
Oh, they've been prompting us the whole time I've been here. Comcast really wants to have the agreements signed. We're on a holdover, and that's probably not, I remember I went back and viewed the whole 4-hour workshop meeting, and I remember our city attorney talking about best practices. So I think we used a model, Makatil, in that's the model that we were going to use. We had some confusion of what version they did, so we've done some negotiations with that. We had changeover in city attorneys, so we're on our third city attorney since I've been here, so that kind of, actually fourth if you count the interim attorney, so that kind of delayed the process here. And I think Hillary said it's best practice, and if Hillary Evans, if our city attorney wants to add any more to my response, go right ahead.
Better late than never.
Okay. Now, Comcast, they're still using coax and not fiber, correct?
I can't answer that question. We don't have an expertise. This is more on the way that they do the digging in the city, the way the fees are collected. We did have somebody reach out to us about service from them, and we can't really address that in this franchise agreement, but it does have the new language in there. I wanted to make sure that we didn't have to come back again, so I asked that Comcast go ahead and approve this ahead of time. That's our standard practice, so we don't end up with renegotiation on the dais. So this is approved and ready to be done, and I think what Hillary Evans talked about, our city attorney last time, is we pretty much use a boilerplate here and have the most allowable language for us that makes it as much advantageous as possible. So
if I'm building a home, let's say I'm building a home and I plan on using Starlink for whatever reason, am I required for Comcast to have their utilities to my home?
I don't believe so. It's at their expense to put it into city sidewalks, our city streets, and connected. I know when we have new developments, usually they work with the developer, and there is an agreement in there. Private roads don't always count, and private driveways, I don't believe, count. I'm kind of guessing on this. I might have some expertise from Public Works that knows that. Alex might be able to know that, but I don't believe we do the driveways, but go ahead.
Hello again, City Engineer Alex Warner. We have a standard, what we call a 10-foot frontage easement on new developments. That is 10 feet behind the public sidewalk on private properties for all of these underground utilities, including Comcast or any other communications.
Okay. Is there any way in the franchise agreement, and I'm guessing the answer is no, I'm still asking the question, they are, to my knowledge, running on coax, and they kind of have a pretty good hold on the providers here. Can we ask in the franchise agreement for them to upgrade their technology as opposed to having old, outdated coax?
I'll defer to our city attorney, see if you could take a stab at this.
You can certainly ask, but the odds of them bowing to your request in this particular agreement context is slim to none. This is essentially authorization for them to place, whatever facilities they want to within our right-of-way. It would be very unusual for us to require exactly what it is that they're placing. We could refuse them the ability to do so unless it's at a certain standard, but that's not typical in these types of agreement.
And I could probably add to that a little bit, being on the Island County Broadband Action Team and talking about that. We have representatives from all the cable there. Certainly we're encouraging the installation of fiber, the quicker fiber, and encouraging them to do so. They usually don't like to play with, typically the grant funding for fiber comes with open access, and Comcast usually doesn't like to, nationally has kind of a policy against that, but certainly other carriers in here. We have 2 other providers that service in this area that are looking at that issue, and that's continues to be an economic development issue, because if we bring fiber in, that allows people to telework better and improve the community. So that's an effort that will continue to encourage. The conversation I've had with the 3 providers, and there's one more in South that's not here, that I've met with all 4 of those representatives and meet with them on a regular basis, and we certainly encourage that on a different avenue than in this franchised agreement to upgrade their equipment and provide better service at a reasonable price.
I'm just looking for any way for us to have a little more teeth into encouraging them. I know, for example, I have a business on one side of the city, a home on another. One of them, Comcast is my only option. I couldn't go with somebody else if I wanted to, because they don't offer that service there. And if Comcast is going to continue to, outages are not uncommon with Comcast. They don't have redundancy with fiber. I would just like us to find ways to encourage them to upgrade so it helps all citizens. But I do understand why it's difficult to say, this is what we're going to require you to do. So I get both sides, but it'd be nice if we could ask.
Yeah, it's a good public statement if they're looking at this. I know Zipley says that they have fiber to everywhere in the city. We've talked about doing a grant funding, but I didn't have county support and kind of looking at that. All the mapping that's come out saying that there's more than one provider that has that, but you just gave me an example that doesn't come up in the chart. So certainly we know that there needs to be an effort to improve service.
Stuckey asked most of the questions I had on this. So if we enter into this franchise agreement, it does not keep us from entering into franchise agreements with the other providers.
That is correct. This is not an exclusive franchised agreement. So, and then, Zipley's a little bit, they're grandfathered in, and if you remember, I think not too long ago, you were on the council, that we did a separate, they don't do a franchise agreement because of their grandfathering in. I think our city attorney could probably answer that more technically, but we did want an agreement with them for how they're going to approach us, and we're cognizant of anybody. Certainly, we open it up, and we have to open up our public right-of-way to these utilities, but we want to be very cognizant and watch what they do, because it affects our utilities and that are in the ground too, and it affects our roadway. So we want to process, and this modernizes that process.
Perfect. Yeah, I was on the other end of a 26-unit apartment complex being developed, and it was on the south end. When Comcast was told they couldn't put their utility on the property, pretty quickly became a legal issue. In that instance, it was federal property, so we were able to say no. But I guess my question is, with this franchise agreement, does it just let them bowl over the top of developers and property owners?
In the agreement, we want to put it in the line, but I guess the connection is up to the individual. So I know in some of the rural areas in the discussion, they don't want to go down the driveways, and so people have 500-foot driveways, and Comcast is in the roadway, and they're kind of at a loss there because the person doesn't want to pay the exorbitant fee that they're asking them to do that. So we're looking at other grant opportunities there. But I know there was a case in one of our private roads where we didn't get involved in, and they had some objection with that, and I believe that we did not enforce it. Certainly, we give them the right to put them into city right-of-way, as explained by our city engineer.
Awesome. And, I do, I know in the workshop, Hillary had said that, she wasn't really the expert in this subject matter. It was another attorney that was working on it. I do wonder if maybe council shouldn't have had a conversation with that attorney to see if there was any way to get more teeth in there to encourage this intentional economic development, to get more speedy and redundant fiber. So I'm not against it. I don't know that I have all the facts right this second.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think that's already been our goal, but by council bringing it up, it reiterates the goal, and I'll certainly share it with the providers.
Councillor Stuckey.
So Hillary, you said slim to none on asking them about upgrading and putting that into a franchise agreement. Could you elaborate a little? I mean, is this almost guaranteed to be a no, or is it worth at least asking the question before we approve this? I know that would table this for a little bit, but is there any harm in stalling this to ask the question?
I'm always happy to ask the question. It is highly unusual for this type of ask to be made. I can't think of any, and we've looked at, I've worked on quite a few of these. Lisa Marshall at my firm worked on this particular one, but I've worked on quite a few of these myself. And I can't think of any that disallows connectivity on a lower service level. Holding them to that high of a standard is just very unusual. And I'm not sure they'd agree to it. I mean, I can't imagine that they would, but we can ask.
Can they be incentivized into franchise agreement? Is there some way to incentivize them to upgrade while not taking off the table a lower service?
Well, I'm fairly certain they'd ask you to pay for it. Financial incentive, I think, might do the trick. But since they're the ones who are bearing the brunt of the cost of the installation and the cost of the facility, I can't imagine that there's much we could come up with that would incentivize them to do this. I mean, we want more cable facilities in our town, right? We want more access. We want new developments to have access to not just Comcast, but every utility that will offer to your residents. So to tell them that they can only do it if it's the most premium high end is not something I've seen a city successfully do so far. And I'm not sure how they'd react to that, but we can ask. What the agreement, and I don't mean to minimize your concerns because I like your concerns, and you should want the best for your city, but I have not seen Comcast do anything above and beyond what you're getting here. Part of the benefits of having a firm like Kenyon Decent is we negotiate these with a lot of cities. I recently did one for Mount Lake Terrace. We did them for Linwood, Sultan. I think we did one in North Bend recently. We were looking at Mukilteo's Comcast franchise to see what they got. And because all these are public documents, we know exactly what every other city gets. So you're getting like the Mukilteo standard, which is a very, very good one. You're getting the same things that all the other cities are getting. And they don't have much of an incentive to give more than that, frankly.
What about lowering the time frame from 10 years with a 5-year extension? Again, I'm just looking for any way to give a little teeth into something like this, only because I know a lot of people are not happy with Comcast. I just did a quick search. It is the only option for my business comparing to the other options, Ziply. I'm looking for any way. I want to be able to look community members in the eye and say, hey, we did everything we could to try to get them in that direction, even if the answer is no.
We definitely negotiated this. We didn't just lay down. We went back and forth for a long time. That's part of what took my firm a while to come back with an agreement that we're happy with. Part of what is going to bring you better facilities is competition. So to the extent you can get a CenturyLink or a Ziply or someone else in there laying cable, then it becomes a race to who gets the customers and who does a better job of it. But if you've only got one franchisee in town at the moment, they're going to be empowered to give the residents what they give the residents, and the residents are going to be grateful. We're not paying them to come in and do this, right? It's not a service we're requesting of them. They're asking for permission to come in and do this. So we don't have a ton of leverage.
And so having a franchise agreement with this franchise, I understand it's non-exclusive. It doesn't, if I was a different franchise, if I was Wave or whatever it is, I wouldn't see that the city already has a franchise agreement with Comcast, and that would not dissuade me in any way.
No, it shouldn't. I mean, it's in a city like Seattle, you've got layers on layers, right? You've got all the different kinds of cable running down my street right now. So they're all looking for the customers. So as soon as they have the money to come into a town or a city and lay that cable, lay that fiber, lay whatever it is that's going to get them the best customers, they're going to do it.
Sure. And it's hard being a smaller city, because if you had 5 providers here, I don't think 5 providers could make it work, you know, with the amount of customers that we have and being on an island. So, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Councilmember Munns has her hand raised.
Councilor Munns.
Thank you, Mayor. Hillary, how long does this contract last? I'm afraid I didn't see it somehow.
Back on the slide.
Or is it till we pull it or something? Oh, 20?
10 years.
Yeah, Hillary, I have it there. It's Blaine Oborn, City Administrator. It's 10 years with the 5-year extension option.
Okay, and then right now we receive 25 cents per customer, but we could raise it up to 50 cents getting it from the cable company?
Yeah, our city finance director, I think, is an expert on this. Mr. Goldman, are you available?
Yes, I'm available. So you're asking about how much money we bring in a year from the current?
Well, no, it's the fact that I believe Hillary was telling us we receive 25 cents per month per subscriber.
Yes.
But I heard that we could raise that to 50 cents.
Yeah, I remember I saw that in the agreement a couple weeks ago when I was taking a look at it during the workshop. It did say that in one of the sections in the agreement. So that, I think, based on what I saw, and I'm no legal expert, but I think we just have to come back at another time and just make that happen. I mean, does that sound right, Hillary?
Yep, that's right. It gives us room to negotiate as we go. Maybe that 5-year extension point.
And just so you know, Chaz actually, I asked her to go ahead and split the funds between the 5% franchise fee and that 25-cent public access fee. So just looking at the last few years, the 5% was about, I'd say an average of about $225,000 a year. And the public access PEG fee, it was like $20,400 in, oh, sorry, that's correct. It was $20,452, and now in 22 it went down to $17,641. So it's a smaller amount, about 10% of the actual 5% franchise fee.
And then one thing, yeah, a good thing to ask about, we're talking about competition, is people are cutting the cable. There's actually more people now, and this year, I think, Mr. Goldman, you had some great statistics on that, I think.
I could share my slide, I don't know.
Yeah, go for it.
Currently we have, okay, yeah.
Let's go ahead.
Yeah, here's a great slide for that.
Yeah.
So,
it just talks
I
about.
pulled this the other day. Let me just move this over here. Can you all see that?
Can you blow it up a little bit?
Cable thing?
Can you blow it up? Yeah, there we go. So if you look
maybe I'll
on
go
there in
more. So
2015.
yeah, so the blue line is traditional pay TV homes, and the red line is homes that cut the cord, basically. They're not using the traditional cable, they're using another method of getting their television. And back in 2015, you could see that it was about 15% or so of the total. And the latest numbers from 2013, and these are a bit of an estimate, they have hard numbers for 22, but their estimate for 23 is, the people with non-traditional television are going to exceed the traditional type of cable for the first time.
Yeah, those are numbers of people, not percentages in the U.S.
Oh, they're millions. Oh, yeah, those are millions of people. So
Millions
you see
of people.
69.7?
Yeah.
That's 69.7 million, well, not people, households.
So, and I think you spoke to this when we did the discussion on revenue, that our franchise revenue is affected by this trend.
Yeah. That is correct. It has not been going up. It's been going down. It's been slightly offset by increasing costs for cable. So 5% of a bigger number is a little bit more money, but as more and more people aren't paying it, this is, the effect is going down.
Well, I know in 2014 and the years after that, the mayor can verify that, we tried to get Comcast to write up a new thing, and they said, no, we're not interested, you don't have enough people yet, they have all these excuses. So the city did try, and I lost track of it once COVID happened. So they may have been pounding us, but before that, the city couldn't get them to even return a call. So anyway, thank you. I like this slide very much. That's very, very interesting. Thank you, Mr. Goldman.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, what does council think about item number 6C? Any motions? On the table? Yes, Ms. Roborn.
I can offer an alternative. You wanted me to direct me to have communication with them and see what we could do on additional services. Since this is a public hearing, I would recommend you continue the public hearing. That makes it so we don't have to re-advertise.
Okay.
And I would recommend alternative to the passing the agreement is to continue this item until I think our next meeting, regular meeting is August 2nd. So I would recommend a motion to continue this item and then staff direction to go ahead and ask Comcast if they can improve services as part of the franchise agreement.
And perhaps even go to a 5 plus 5 year rather than a 10.
Yeah, I can negotiate, if you want to put that in there, if you want to, yeah, we can go to a 5-year agreement. You could do that and just direct it, I bring it back with a 5-year, I can approach them and make sure they're okay with it, but.
No, I was thinking both. Do the 5-year.
Okay.
plus.
5-year? Okay, so I'll bring it back with a 5-year option in the agreement on August 2nd, if that's the direction.
Councilor Stuckey.
I mean, unless, and again, I know this may be fruitless, unless that can be used as a bargaining chip for the, 10 years if you're willing to upgrade the facility. I mean, I'm just saying, give a little wiggle room if for some reason that is part of the negotiation. 5 years is preferred, but if they're saying, hey, if you lock it in for 10, we can be more apt to upgrade the services, I could understand that too, so.
Okay, so you're looking for a motion to table this until our next meeting.
To continue the public hearing
Okay.
until August 2nd. We have to do a date on that, and then I think I can take direction from the council here on the consensus for negotiating.
Okay. Everybody ready to make that motion?
I'll make the motion, Mayor.
Okay. Councilor Munn.
I
go ahead.
move that we continue this discussion to our next meeting with Comcast and see if we can change it to a 5-year or possibly a 10-year with the stipulation that they will improve services for us, somewhere along that line. Mr. O'Byrne is working on it.
We need the August 2nd in the motion.
And we also need public hearing in the motion, please. That we move to continue the public hearing.
To August 2nd.
Okay.
I heard her say that.
Yep. I move to continue the public hearing. To
August 2nd.
To August 2nd.
There we go.
Okay, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Councilor Stuckey, second. We have a motion by Councilor Munns. Councilor Stuckey seconded the motion to continue this to our August 2nd meeting and come back with some different negotiations. Any other input or questions? All in favor signify by raising your right hand. Okay, that gets moved to next month. Thank you. We'll go on to item number 7, Resolution 2316, Washington State Department of Ecology Integrated Planning Grant Application. And we have our grants administrator, Whidbey Windy Horn. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here on behalf of Public Works to talk a little bit about an integrated planning grant. So just a little background. You will remember that the council approved the purchase of 2 properties down on Southeast Pioneer Way last year. This is the area where the carnival was over the 4th. And on that property, there are two buildings, one of which was a service station for almost 50 years, I believe, and the other one was a variety of businesses. The most recent, the one on the left, most recently was a tattoo parlor. So after we purchased the property, we completed a Phase 1 and a Phase 2 environmental assessment. The soil and the groundwater were tested, and as expected, some contamination did come back. So you can see a list of a few of the items that came back as positive. And so we notified the Department of Ecology that we did have contaminated property. So the Department of Ecology administers the Remedial Action Grant and Loan Program for the state. This program provides grants and loans to facilitate hazardous site cleanup with the goal of advancing and expediting cleanups across the state. It also administers the Brownfield program for the state of Washington. And the Brownfield program provides technical assistance, loans, and grants specifically for brownfield sites. And all these programs are part of the Model Toxic Control Act that governs the cleanup of all contaminated sites across Washington state. So the department has put out a call for applications for this integrated planning grant. The purpose of this grant is to fund assessment of one or more contaminated sites by the local government. And brownfield properties are, just as a reminder, they are previously developed properties that are abandoned or underused due to actual or perceived historic contamination. So this funding allows for the development of an integrated project plan for cleaning up and redeveloping the site. Ecology can fund up to 100% of the eligible costs with a maximum limit of $200,000 for a single site. And what I forgot to put on here is that there is no matching requirement for this grant. So the properties on Southeast Pioneer Way are considered a single site from the Department of Ecology's standpoint. And what Public Works would like to do is request $200,000 to fund, one, drilling monitoring wells and monitoring the groundwater, which will ultimately speed up the cleanup activities in the timeline. They would also like to develop a comprehensive cleanup plan, which will determine the types of mitigation that is needed. And then we also want to begin the mitigation and the cleanup and also start the redevelopment process with this funding. The deadline to apply is August 8th, and that is all I have. And I can answer questions. Alex is also here to help me.
Thank you, Wendy.
Yep.
Before we turn to council, I want to make sure that we've not received any input from our public regarding this.
We have not, Mayor, and you will then open the public hearing.
Oh, this is a public hearing also?
Oh, no, it's not.
Oh, okay, good. Then we'll just turn to council then and ask about any questions or inputs or motions. Yes, Councilor Hoffmeyer.
Wendy, hey, this is amazing. You know, I think it was probably 3 years ago when I started talking with Rep. Paul about the Model Toxic Control Act there and, you know, some of these options. And I think you were probably the first one in the building that mentioned the Brownfield Act. And this is pretty incredible, especially the no matching fund requirement. So I definitely support this and keep it up.
Thank you.
And with that, I guess I'll make the motion. I move to approve Resolution 23-16, authorizing the mayor to sign an application to the Washington State Department of Ecology for the Integrated Planning Grant.
Second.
Second.
What? Oh. Well, we do have a motion made by Councilor Hoffmeyer and a second by Councilor Wittgenstein that reads exactly like the motion or the recommended action. Seeing no other input or questions, all in favor signify by raising your right hand. That passes, looks like unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will go now to our last item, item number 7B for the evening. Resolution 2318, Washington State Recreation Conservation Office Outdoor Learning Grant Application, Parks and Rec Department, and we have our Parks and Rec Director, Brian Smith.
Good
Welcome,
evening,
Brian.
Council. So we have before you a resolution authorizing the State Recreation Conservation Office for the Outdoor Learning Grant application. One of the purposes of the department is to provide recreational programming for the general public. We are partnering with the school district in a lot of these endeavors. I met today with the School Garden Coalition. It's made up of the representatives from the county, the school district, local colleges, surrounding municipalities, and a handful of nonprofit organizations, talking about some of these experiential outdoor programs. The Outdoor Learning Grant proposal will establish an experiential outdoor educational program for school-aged children focused on science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, STEM fundamentals. There you go. It meets the Washington State Learning Standards by Dr. McFarland. Yeah, there we go. Outdoor education supports the whole child to engage in authentic living and learning that reinforces interdisciplinary experiences naturally. This grant would give the city $500,000 or $50,000. There's no matching requirement with it. We would put this along with the $1.8 million community urban forestry community grant. We're very fortunate to have Senator Cantwell support us in that. Part of that grant supports green careers and educational opportunities. We'll do programs like marina salmon rearing, ecology preservation, indigenous people, and archaeology. Support some of our Arbor Day activities to provide more educational opportunities with that, and then STEM programming in the off-school times. Looking to benefit about 800 youth in the community. This is just a couple of pictures from our Arbor Day event, some of the city council participated in, but this is the kind of things that we want to do. We want to get kids outdoors, we want to get them in nature, learning about green careers and experiential education opportunities. This was a great program that we got a lot of great feedback from the school district on, and hope to be able to expand opportunities like this for the kids. So we have a recommended motion for you tonight. Any questions? I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Brian. Before we turn to council, I want to verify there's been no input from our public.
That's correct, Mayor. We
Okay.
received no input.
Thank you. So, council, questions? Input? Councilor Stuckey.
Can't imagine any objections. I'll make the bold move of making the motion.
Pardon me, Councilmember Munns has taken her hand down. Never
Oh,
mind.
I think I might beat her to the punch. I move to approve Resolution 23-18, authorizing the mayor to sign a Recreation Conservation Office grant application for the Outdoor Learning Grant.
Second.
Motion and second that reads exactly like the recommended action. That motion is made by Councilor Stuckey, second by Councilor Hoffmeyer. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. That looks like it passes unanimously.
Thank you, Council.
So is there, thank you, Brian. Any other council business? Seeing none. Councilor Munns, safe sailing or whatever, and we'll just wave goodbye, and that'll, well, maybe we should have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We got a motion, second. All in favor?